get back to me on that. But the weird thing is, everybody else in the media apparently got invited to his announcement, but us.
Really? Because I didn't see the announcement anywhere, and they didn't invite me.
Well,
but then again, I'm here with you, so I count that as good company.
Well, there you go. Two guys who weren't invited to the announcement. Did you hear, though, because I am one of the most fair people I know, I invited him to come on the program after his announcement. So between now and noon, he might drive down here and he might stop by the studio.
Well, that'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't it be great to hear him live on his first live interview?
I'd love
since becoming a candidate.
I'd be happy to share the airtime with him and have him come in. I'd be more than welcome.
See, so because we are people, men of integrity, and we're community minded.
Absolutely. And I really look forward to finding out something about him.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was one of the people who were under consideration.
Well, did you get an interview?
Yes, I did.
You were interviewed by the Broome County Republicans?
Yes.
Well, Richard Bucci wasn't.
I know.
Why?
I don't know why. I can't answer that.
Well,
but,
because I'm not a Republican. I'm nothing. I am not registered anywhere. And people probably said, good, whatever party. If Bob was registered in a party, that'd be the party I wouldn't register in. So I'm, as you would say, not registered, not affiliated.
Well, I'm definitely affiliated, as we know.
Right. Oh, yeah.
From my past, but I really was looking forward. I'm looking forward to finding out more about him, and from my own personal aspect, I want to see what does he have that I don't, because I'm really interested in that. But that'll answer a lot of questions for everyone.
Absolutely, and this will be one of the places where people will come. We had Barbara Fiala on.
I was listening.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught the last bit.
It was nice to have her on.
It was very nice to have her on, and she sounds well.
She does, and she said essentially she's in it to win it, and I assume Fred Akshar will take the same position, that neither candidate is going to view this as just, well, it's something to do. No, they mean business. Once you throw your hat into the ring, it's business.
Always. You don't, once you're in, it gets very serious very quick.
All right. Well, we will take just a brief break, and we will talk more with Michael Vasquez about some things that have been in the news lately.
Absolutely, I look forward to it.
Yeah, and thank you for popping in. And again, this is honestly, if Fred Akshar shows up by 11:50 this morning, I guarantee he will be on this program. Binghamton Now.
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
If I had a stack of Bibles. Did you bring a Bible?
Not with me.
All right. Anyway, if a virtual Bible, I swear that Fred Akshar, if he calls in by 11:50 or stops by, he'll be on the program. It's a pledge. It's a solemn vow.
You know, someone's got to be telling him right now. They got to be telling him right now.
You know who's telling him? Probably B-Joy. Because B-Joy is probably listening. He's probably up getting set for the announcement, and he's probably saying, "Oh, good." And he's probably saying, he's going like that. What's that tomato juice substance? The beverage, Conk. Could have had a V6,
V8,
V6, V8,
V8.
Yeah, I get that and 7-Up. I'm always mixed up with it. Conk and B-Joy's saying, "Well, geez,
That's the follow-up. That's the perfect follow-up to the announcement.
Well, you know what? I think they planned this to make. They were actually going to stop in and surprise me and then sing "Happy Birthday" to me.
It's your birthday.
No, but
okay.
It still would have been an interesting segment.
Yeah,
it would have made the 6 o'clock news.
That's for sure.
And it would go viral. And isn't that what it's about? We just want things to go viral.
Always.
It doesn't have to mean anything.
No, just be viral.
That's what we've become. Anyway, more with Michael Vasquez in a moment. I promise, within 2 minutes, I will get serious on News Radio 1290, WNBF. News Radio 1290, WNBF at 10:39. We're live and local, and as you may have deduced a few minutes ago, Michael Vasquez. How do you describe yourself? Are you still your
political commentator?
Commentator.
Mm-hmm.
Still an insurance agent too?
Yep.
Okay. So, and you've resided in Binghamton for
about a decade now.
Okay. All right. And you've been on the program
and a homeowner too.
Frequently.
Yes.
Okay. So you have a stake in beautiful Binghamton.
Yes, I do. Very much so.
All right. Well, so there's 2 guys in the studio who really love Binghamton.
Oh, absolutely. Want to see it do much better.
Yes. So Okay, so we've established that. And we've got a lot to talk about this morning. One thing, a listener just sent me a note, because I remarked how, amazingly, the host of the program wasn't even notified that Fred Akshar was going to announce this morning, but apparently before 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, Bijoy Datta sent out notes to everybody but me. I'm excited to invite you to the announcement event of our Republican nominee for the 52nd Senate District this Monday at 10:30 a.m. at the Bagside parking lot next to SUNY Broome and the Sheriff's Office. We're going to hit the ground running and race all the way to victory on November 3rd against Democrat Barbara Fiala and her liberal Cuomo de Blasio New York City policies. Thanks, Bijoy. Bijoy Datta, Chairman, Broome County Republican Party. His office, of all things, is just like, it's probably 50 feet away. His office is upstairs.
Right up there.
Probably right above. So anyway, I didn't get the email.
I didn't either.
So that's why people were wondering, well, gee, Bob, everybody else is why is WNBF not there, the news leader? And we would have been, but of course I better check. Maybe for all I know, Roger Neal might have gotten invited. Maybe he's there.
Could be.
Better watch out.
Huh.
He may be writing apologies, 500. I'm sorry. I shall not jump to conclusions. I'll be like Bart Simpson writing on the chalkboard, where I will not
1,000
jump
times.
to conclusions. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll have Fred Akshar on as soon as possible.
Right.
We've already agreed that if he wants to call in, or for that matter, if he wants to stop in before noon, this show is his show.
Yes.
Because we already had Barbara Fiala on. Anyway, you mentioned you were one of the people actually interviewed by the Republicans in the 52nd District as they were looking for a prospective candidate.
Yes, I was. Yes, we had a nice conversation about it.
Well, and how'd that go? Did they ask you key questions, or did they ask you just to give a general statement? Give me a sense of how that went.
A couple of key questions, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Critical views about the future. And
What were the most important issues that they seemed to focus on?
they didn't. I did.
Okay. I mean, they didn't ask you leading questions. They didn't say
No, they left it as
specifically-
a general.
All right. Any questions like, for example, do you like Andrew Cuomo? Well, because that's a relevant question.
Well, I think that's kind
Senator Thomas Libas really liked Andrew Cuomo. When he came on the program, I could sense that at least politically and probably personally, they had a very good, strong relationship. So I think that would have been relevant.
Well, I think it is relevant, but I also think that with my political commentary, my writing for the last decade, it's pretty clear what I think of our government structure on the state level. It's, let's say, less than desired. Not quite as squeaky clean as anyone would want it to be. Thank you, Preet.
I was just going to say, to hear Preet Bharara tell it, it's a little worse than that, but I think
I'm
on
being
Monday,
gentle.
I was going to say, you're being kind.
Very.
You don't want to...
Uncharacteristically.
Yes. Well, it's early in the week. I mean, we can build by the end of the week if we need to throw political A-bombs, we can do that later in the week. There's still plenty of time.
Oh, they're definitely going to come, I'm sure.
Anyway, for people who forgot, in the spring of last year, you were running in the potential Republican part, or the lead up to the Republican primary with Richard Hanna, Claudia Tenney. There was also for a time a fourth Republican, I believe, from Chenango County who was talking about running. So for a while, you were actually hoping to face off against Congressman Hanna in the primary, which last year became the de facto election because the Democrats didn't run a candidate against Hanna.
Which is amazing that they would just back away from people like that. And I was in there from 2013 through most of 2014 before I decided to step away to give Claudia a clear shot at it, Assemblywoman Tenney. And actually, that's part of what I wanted to speak about here today. One of the things is everyone knows about Planned Parenthood. The videos that have been coming out consistently.
And there's been so much in the news. I mean, especially a lot on the TV news, and some of the other national programs on this station have talked a lot about the videos, a lot about the reaction of the people who put those videos together, and the reaction, such as it has been from the leadership of Planned Parenthood, and also the reaction of political figures. And one thing that you noted, on July 29th, Richard Hanna's office put out a news release, a fairly short news release, but the headline on the release on July 29th from Congressman Hanna's office said, "Hanna supports investigation of Planned Parenthood." It says Richard Hanna today released this statement in support of a congressional investigation and a thorough review by the Justice Department of Planned Parenthood. I'll just read the first couple of sentences of the statement. "I strongly support women's health care. However, the videos released regarding Planned Parenthood are extremely disturbing and alarming. I do not support or in any way condone the callous tone and attached emotional nature of these videos. I fully support a congressional investigation to determine if any laws were broken or standards of medical care were violated." So that is the statement released a few days ago by Congressman Hanna's office.
Too bad it doesn't match what he does and what he actually is about. And I hate to say this, but this is what we were talking about in 2013, 2014. We're hearing a statement, 5 sentences, on a massive issue, and it doesn't match what he's done. Congressman Hanna has voted, out of the last 9 votes on abortion, whether it's on funding for Planned Parenthood, if it's on trying to establish the 5-month ban, what they call 20 weeks, but it's actually, if you're pregnant 5 months, anything beyond that, you wouldn't be able to get an abortion because it can survive out of the womb. And Mr. Hanna has voted against that consistently. I mean, 7 out of the last 9 times, and the only reason why it wasn't 8 is he didn't take one of the votes. That doesn't match someone who says, "I'm strongly behind an investigation." And 5 sentences does not justify him speaking to his constituents and explain 59% of the nation is against late-term abortion. Our district, the 22nd District of New York, is against late-term abortion. Why is our representative, not leader, voting against us?
Do you think all federal funding for Planned Parenthood ought to be suspended immediately?
I think 2 things. One, Mr. Hanna, who's received awards from Planned Parenthood, who's also received donations from Planned Parenthood, just because of the ethics, the questionable ethics of the video, should give that money back, should give back that award, because it's unbecoming of his office, I believe, just as we ask Democrats and presidential candidates to do. And yes, I believe we should get rid of the funding for the federal funding. Why should taxpayers pay for what may be unethical tactics? And I mean, it's very clear in the videos from the responses, and you can't spin, "We're trying to find a less crunchy way to get the bodies." You can't spin that.
When these first were publicized, and it's now been a series of videos that have been released in recent weeks, when the first 1 or 2 came out, did anything really surprise you? Did you have a suspicion that some of this was going on, or was this an eye-opener to you?
I was shocked. I think we were all shocked. Whether you're for or against abortion is not the question in this case. What we're talking about is the ethics of possibly, in some cases, full births, live births, in some cases, as they're alleging now on some of the future videos that are being used for fetal tissues. It's a question of the ethics here, and no one would have expected this company to be so, in my personal view of it, repugnant. The sentence that did it to me is that crunchy, and you can't spin that.
It's hard to even talk about this. I mean, when people, and I think a lot of the media were slow and continue to be be reluctant to cover the story to a degree because to say distasteful doesn't do it justice. It's one of the most unpleasant topics
Yes.
that the media have been forced to confront because these videos, which were recorded surreptitiously. Now, it would seem to me different if, say, 60 Minutes had done something similar and recorded videos surreptitiously the way 60 Minutes used to do. They don't usually resort to secretly recorded videos as much as, say, during the Mike Wallace era. But 60 Minutes and some other network magazine shows for years did a lot of this stuff, and it seems to me that if it had been done by what we would call a mainstream news organization, a network, New York Times, Washington Post, well, even Fox News, if some mainstream operation had done this, done investigative reporting, and recorded this same series of videos that have been released in recent weeks, that probably would have gotten more attention.
Well, that's the shame of it, because the video is the video. Whether it's done by Mike Wallace or it's done by this group, it's still the same answers. It's still the same, what appears to be unethical actions and potentially criminal actions violating the law, which demands an investigation. That's obvious. We need to know the answer for this, and it puts everything into question about this. And the people who have been supporting it have to step up and speak to the people and explain why. Why should we continue to support this?
So you think there should be a federal investigation. What about here in New York State? Is there something in your view that the people in Albany want to be doing in response to the release of these recordings in recent weeks?
Well, why not do an internal audit? I saw one of the states where the Planned Parenthood was. They said they've shown how it's not making a profit by selling the parts of the babies. Okay, well, that's fine. Why don't we do that in New York State? Audit every one of the Planned Parenthood offices. Let's see, are they making a profit? Are they not? It's a very simple thing to show us. They don't have to show it to their competitors. Show it to the state.
Your guest in the studio, Michael Vasquez, a local political commentator who lives in Binghamton. He ran last year for a time in the run-up to the Republican primary in the 22nd district, right?
Yes.
And ultimately the primary wound up being between Richard Hanna and Claudia Tenney. Any thought looking forward to 2016 to possibly mounting a challenge against Richard Hanna?
There are talks and discussions going on. You may hear some news soon.
All right. Well, in other words, stay tuned.
Very much so.
One other issue I know that you have an interest in and would like to address is minimum wage. Now, Governor Cuomo has decided, and his fast food wage board graciously decided that people who work in the fast food industry and restaurant chains of a certain size will wind up getting higher pay, first in New York City, I believe, in 3 years, and then 6 years down the road, assuming anybody who's working in a fast food operation today, say in Binghamton, is still working at a fast food establishment in 6 years, their pay under this plan would go up to $15 an hour. What do you think of the Governor Cuomo? I guess
Coup?
he took it.
The coup?
Well, he decided he found, apparently it's legal to do this with a wage board. I guess most people didn't know, but he appointed the wage board, and so a certain group, a certain subset of workers who have been getting minimum wage somewhere down the road in 3 or 6 years could wind up being paid $15. What do you think?
Well, don't you notice the process, the highly rushed process, very similar to the way they passed the SAFE Act, and that's been a fiasco. Matter of fact, it's government. When has government ever stepped into private sector and made things better? It doesn't happen. But this is such a massive scale of a problem that we're not seeing it. They're selling the idea, $15 an hour, $15 an hour, and they're not stopping to think, and then what? Okay, you're going to move some people to $15 an hour, and then what? So you want to pay the fry guy more than you're going to pay a paramedic, to the nurses who are taking care of our elderly? Because the paramedics get, I think it's $14.32. The nurses get $11.35, and the fry guy gets more.
Well, in some cases, say at some convenience stores around here, where they have a separate fast food counter where people are maybe selling donuts or making subs or whatever, so the person working in that part of the store would be getting $15 an hour, and then other people, say just a few feet away, running the checkout and doing some of the other work associated with the convenience store, are going to be paid several dollars an hour less.
Or how about the manager, who gets paid exactly the same thing as a new hire, but yet has much more responsibility?
And that will be, I can't see how that won't be problematic.
But it gets worse. It gets worse than that, because that's only the top. That's just the initial step. Well, let's start thinking about all of these people who are now being paid $15 an hour. They don't get any of the government aid, so they instantly have to go and they lose any food stamps that they were getting, any subsidies for the housing and the heat. They lose that. They suddenly go into a new tax bracket. Now they have to pay taxes. They're not getting it back at the end of the year as they usually plan to have. They're losing some of their education credits for their kids. We're looking at a whole new cycle of people. Obamacare. Hello, Obamacare. They just went into a new bracket. They're going to have to pay back the IRS all those subsidies that they just received. And now they have to pay more out of their pocket because they can afford it now, technically. They're going to have to pay more for their health insurance, like everyone else who had their health care increase, and they're suddenly going to catch up to everyone else and have a massive jump from being subsidized to now paying for it.
Well, one thing we could say about this, stay tuned, there are inevitably court challenges to come. So by the time it even gets to the point where this was to take effect in upstate counties, including Broome and Tioga counties, we may not even recognize it. It could be just a memory that it ever happened after it gets to the courts. It's hard to say how this will go. Michael Vasquez, a Binghamton political commentator and insurance agent, and perhaps a future candidate, I thank you for joining us and keep us posted.
Always. Thank you.
10:57 news.